The days of matching onesies and we did a thing are over. Hi there, my name is Tessa, and you should be embarrassed of your boyfriend. Or at least that's what the internet is saying. For most of history, women were defined by their status as a wife and mother, and being unmarried past a certain age was considered the ultimate disgrace. It meant that there was something wrong with you. You were an old maid, a spinster, a crazy cat lady. By linking a woman's value directly to her relationship, she was not only pushed to settle down more quickly, but also dedicate her entire life to pleasing her husband in order to retain this secure position. This sentiment stuck around for a hot minute, but as time passed and women gained more independence politically, financially, and socially, the pressure to marry lessened. In the early 1900s, divorce was not only frowned upon socially, but was downright difficult to go through with, especially if you were a woman. Not only would you need to present literal proof of adultery or abuse, but there was still a chance at the end of the day that the judge would say no. Can you imagine having to go back home to that? Like, hey honey, I know I just tried to divorce you, but what do you want for dinner? On top of that, married women weren't even allowed to have bank accounts in their own names until the 1960s, meaning if you needed to access any money, say to pay a lawyer, you would have to ask your husband for it, which made divorce a rather daunting prospect from a financial perspective as well. In 1969, Ronald Reagan introduced no-fault divorce in California, meaning you could ask for a separation for no reason whatsoever, and the law was soon adopted by other states across the country. As I already mentioned, generations of women had gotten married too young and too quickly, which was a recipe for disaster. So it's no surprise that when they were finally presented with a way of getting out of these marriages, they took it. Divorce rates in the United States steadily climbed over the course of the 1970s, with women reportedly initiating 2/3 of them. And by 1981, it had reached its peak. This gave way to the infamous 50% of marriages end in divorce statistic. But that number has actually declined in the years since, and the rates of divorce today are actually less than they were in the 1970s. Why? Because women don't feel the need to rush into marriage anymore. For example, back in the 1950s, it was pretty common for women to marry right around the time they turned 20. Yikes. But nowadays, we're getting married closer to 30. That's almost an entire decade of additional life experience, giving us a lot more time to live and learn before walking down the aisle and saying I do, lowering our chances of making a lifelong commitment to the wrong person.
I want to get married.
Again, I'm only 27. What am I, a child bride?
We're choosing our partners based on compatibility, not societal expectations. And if you can't find someone who meets your standards, that's totally okay. Because for the first time, being single isn't seen as a punishment. It's a power move. It's a symbol of freedom and self-sufficiency and how far women have come in society. Whereas being in a relationship, at least a straight one, is what's seen as sad. With the Trump administration targeting DEI programs, women's reproductive rights, and same-sex marriage, millions of people are watching their autonomy disappear in real time. And because straight white men seem to be the only ones benefiting, they've become the de facto symbol of modern repression. As a form of resistance, some women have started pushing back at anything that seems to promote these so-called traditional or conservative values, like being straight, wanting a relationship, wanting kids. Obviously, these are very normal things. But when you're watching basic human rights get taken away, the idea of revolving your life around a man, any man, starts to feel like the digital equivalent of siding with the enemy. And that's the irony of modern feminism. We've worked so hard to decenter men in our lives that when someone chooses to date one, it's seen as a step backwards, something that you can see evidenced by the latest discourse to take the internet by storm. Recently, Vogue published an article by Shantae Joseph titled, "Is Having a Boyfriend Embarrassing Now?" which quickly spread across TikTok, Instagram, X, and Reddit. Now, like a lot of things that go viral, most people took the headline at face value, sparking thousands of think pieces about embarrassing men and the state of modern dating, including this one, of course, but at least I read the article. In spite of what the catchy title might suggest, it's less of a debate about whether or not your boyfriend is embarrassing, and more of a discussion about how people perceive women whose lives revolve around their boyfriends, and how that's impacted the way relationships are presented online. Even though I'm a creator, I try my best to keep my personal life as separate from my public persona as I can. Not because I'm hiding anything, but because I genuinely feel like we shouldn't be sharing every single thing that happens to us with strangers on the internet. No offense, I still love and appreciate you guys. But for a lot of influencers, that divide doesn't really exist. Their lives are their content. So the decision to hard launch a partner is actually a pretty big one, because a boyfriend can be bad for business. Just ask any Japanese idol or Twitch streamer. A lot of female creators build their platform around independence and self-discovery. And as a result, their identity is their brand, and so is their relationship status. Unfortunately, that means that when they do start dating someone, they run the risk of their audience no longer seeing them as a girl's girl, but as a pick-me. It's kind of like how body positivity influencers will catch a lot of flack if they lose weight or get a boob job. Now, I can understand why people aren't into a hard pivot from one type of content to another, because it'd be like watching 4 seasons of a gritty crime drama, and then all of a sudden for the 5th season, it's a romantic comedy. It's just not what you signed up for. But it's starting to feel less like a disinterest in other people's relationships and more like a way of policing women's decisions and shaming them for being happy. And not just happy in general, but happy with a man. Oh, the horror. We've literally spent years telling women to be loud and live authentically. But why does that not apply to love? Now, I understand where this animosity stems from. After all, for centuries, women were not only pressured to give up their lives and marry mediocrity, but to be grateful about it. And it's only in more recent years that men have even started to be held accountable for their weaponized incompetence and emotional immaturity. Not that it stopped them from terrorizing the dating pool, releasing ridiculous podcasts, or embarrassing their wives in public. Sure, not all men, but enough of them. And it's no surprise that so many women have chosen to be single instead of lowering their standards, because at this point, we know that there's no benefit to sticking around and trying to reform a man who's never going to change. Because of cell phones and social media, it's a lot easier to keep tabs on men's shenanigans. But with the internet rewarding wild speculation, people feel entitled to analyze relationships that they have no stake in, all under the guise of helping their fellow woman. That's all fun and games when you're the one laughing and telling people to leave him. But when you have the boyfriend the internet says is going to disappoint you, hiding the relationship becomes your only form of self-preservation. Because Lord knows if you try to defend him from the people who have 35 seconds of context, that'll only make things worse. And people will call you ungrateful for not heeding their warnings. No one wants to be the next couch girl, or the woman whose husband's vows were just, I promise to smack that ass every chance I get. Or God forbid, a recipient of the dreaded, hey girly DM. But in the 2020s, being cheated on or broken up with is no longer the worst case scenario when dating someone. It's being judged by millions of strangers because you should have known better than to fall in love with a man in the first place. Naturally, this has made women a lot more wary about what parts of their relationship they share online. Even though for some reason a man being obsessed with his girlfriend is hot, but a woman being obsessed with her boyfriend is lame. This is all pretty ironic, as it's just another instance of something being caused by men's shortcomings, but women having to deal with the fallout. You have to make his existence in your life so subtle that if one day he never appeared again, no one would even notice. It's the mysterious hand at the dinner table. It's that blurry shadow in the back of a mirror selfie. Although if it was reversed and a man was hiding his relationship in a similar way, it would be a red flag. I also wonder if part of the disdain that people have for loud displays of affection online is because of the association those sorts of posts have with the relationship goals era of the 2010s. And as we all know, anything associated with millennials is chuggy and chopped and cringy. The days of matching onesies and we did a thing are over. Now, I do think it's important to acknowledge that the article, and most of what I'm talking about, is really only applicable to a certain subset of people, those who are chronically online. And the average person doesn't care about being perceived as cringy for posting their partner on Instagram. But some people do need that sort of external validation, which says a lot about how performative our lives have become. Although I do have to wonder if your first thought when you enter a relationship is, oh my God, this man might embarrass me someday. Let me do my best to minimize that backlash. Perhaps you shouldn't be dating that person to begin with. And if you're one of those people who always makes comments like, oh my God, I hate my boyfriend, he just always ruins the vibe, then why are you with him? Or are you just saying those sorts of things because you think that's what people want to hear? We're living in an era where earnestness is seen as cringy. And what aspect of the human experience is more earnest than the simple act of falling in love? Sure, things aren't always going to work out. It might be his fault, it might be her fault, maybe it's no one's fault. Either way, I don't think that the disintegration of a relationship is something to be mocked for or ashamed of. So maybe the question shouldn't be, is your boyfriend embarrassing? But instead, why does it matter? No one's worth or identity should be defined by someone else, whether that's your partner, your kids, your parents, your dog. You are your own person, even if you happen to be someone's girlfriend. Anyway, that's it for this video, and I will see you next time. Bye!